Hello everyone and welcome back to Not Too Late, the only IU-based late-night talk show that believes in Santa Claus. This week I've decided to become the late-night show host of the future by bringing you my very own hoverboard. This amazing piece of tech has the ability to bring your clout game to the next level. To demonstrate this, I'm going to tell you a story of the first time I rode this thing around Los Angeles. So it was a normal night in Los Angeles for me. I was just riding home from the studio on my new hoverboard. And that's when this masked man And as he was on the ground panting, he took off the mask, revealing a robotic eye. He said if I denied the mission, I would be hunted. So of course I had to accept this mission. Sure enough, the LAPD got wind of what I was doing and started to chase me, and they started to find me. But finally, I need to make it to this diner where a table of people will be waiting for me. Jeff Goldblum, and he turns to me and he says, "Dinner's on me, champ." And that's my story. We got a great show for you today. Senior lecturer from the media school, Steve Kroenke, is here. Let's get this show started. Excuse me. It's not like that's mine or anything. One thing it seems that everyone who attends IU has in common is funny roommate stories. To showcase this, every week I'm going to read a roommate story sent in by one of you. To get your story on the show, just DM our Twitter, at IUSTV Not Too Late. This week's story comes from an anonymous viewer who said, "My roommate bought eggs a few days ago and drunkenly tried to argue that he could step on an egg and it wouldn't break. Sure enough, he stood on the first egg and it broke. But he had a dozen, so he tried until all 12 eggs were broken on our floor. Then he passed out, leaving me to clean up the mess. Now, this does sound like an unfortunate night, but they did waste all their eggs, so I guess the yolk's on them." Now it's time to give all of you your weekly news updates with our What's Up IU, where we keep you informed on all the big news stories that are making waves in Indiana and around the world. The IU Student Association held its 2018 student election last Tuesday. If you're like most people, this is probably your first time finding out about this so-called IUSA. And like most people, you'll probably forget about it till we report on this story again next year. Sherlock Gnomes, the sequel to the film Romeo and Juliet, has been released into theaters and has tanked in the box office. This failure was devastating news to Steven Spielberg, who planned on making an animated gnome-based sequel to E.T. called E.T. 2, E.T. Phones Gnome. A recent experiment with mice suggests that taking small doses of Viagra could help prevent cancer. We tried to interview Minnie Mouse for her opinion on this story, but oddly enough, we've only gotten voicemail for the past week. With gun control being the hottest of topics right now, Donald Trump has taken an aim at the video game industry for responsibility and children being more inclined to be violent. After meeting with the Video Game Commission and playing a few hours of Fortnite, the Trump administration found video games to have no correlation to the violence. When Trump was asked directly what he thought about Fortnite, he said, "I particularly like the wall building mechanic in it." Kinsey Confidential released a recent article giving advice on how to orgasm, stating that there are many self-help books and even sex-positive therapy to help people with this problem. Many people in Indiana are understandably reluctant to these therapy sessions, since former Governor Mike Pence attempted to implement his own therapy sessions. Police are currently investigating a string of fake $100 bills. A Starbucks was hit twice and a Subway once. The Starbucks hit twice involved the same employee who had been asked about the bills and after they were asked, tried to bribe the investigating officer with some Monopoly money. 52 members of AE Pi fraternity have become sick with symptoms that are consistent with the norovirus. AE Pi spokesperson John Pierce said several members returned to campus after spring break with the illness. So it sounds like sunburns and STIs aren't the only thing students are bringing back from spring break this year. Last Tuesday morning, IU students flooded the halls of Ballantyne during a tornado drill. The drill was part of Operation Stormy Weather, a set of drills for the Severe Weather Preparedness Week. This drill is not to be confused with the Kinsey Institute's Operation Stormy Daniels. That's all we have in the news today. Now, before we get to this week's guest, let's take a look at our video segment this week, where our field team conducted some more speedy interviews on the quickest bus on campus. Let's check it out.
Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another vlog. We are here live today in my dorm room. Alright guys, I gotta be honest with you. I just found a tape today lying on the ground and thought I'd pop it in and record a little sneak peek preview for you guys for my dorm room. Yo, check it. That's a Hot Pocket and a microwave. What? Alright, man, hope there wasn't anything important on that tape. Anyway guys, catch you back next time. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and catch you on the flip side. See ya.
Welcome back to the show. Our guest this week is beloved media school production professor Steve Kroenke. Steve, how you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So how long have you been teaching here at Indiana University?
That's a good question. I came here in 1998, so I guess 20 years.
Mm-hmm. What classes do you teach here?
I teach a number of different classes. I teach Introduction to Design and Production, which is C223. I teach a production management course, which is M330. I teach a media law course called Media Law for Producers. I think that's M453, and then I teach a class called Television Analysis and Criticism, and that's P416. And then recently I taught a course that everybody just calls the Twilight Zone.
So along with the Twilight Zone class, do you have any other projects like that coming up in any future semesters, any big production-based courses like that?
I have some ideas for some. They're awfully complicated, and the Twilight Zone project was sort of an experiment, and we learned a lot through the experiment. Now we need to figure out, well, how can we improve some things? And so after that, I've got some ideas of things we might do.
All right, so you have a long history of being a producer and a creator. What would you say is your favorite project that you've ever worked on in your whole life?
Well, I've done a lot of different kinds of films, and I had a career in the theater and concert business before that. Probably the film most people know about is a film called Hoop Dreams that I served as managing producer on, but that was one of the first films I ever worked on, actually. And I'm not entirely sure I actually knew what I was doing when I did it. And then I'm pretty proud of a 6-part documentary on the American Revolution for PBS that still is kind of the landmark documentary about that that period in history. But more recently, we just finished a film a couple of years ago. Suzanne Schwibbs, another professor, and I, called Cuba, The Forgotten Revolution, and that film has done quite well. Won an Emmy Award. And most importantly, I think, is actually available in Cuba. It's one of the first films about the Cuban Revolution that is not really about Castro that's been shown in Cuba, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for any content creators that are just getting started in the media industry?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do. I think it's important for people to learn how to practice, and practicing means failing. If everything you do turns out right, it means you're not doing anything new or anything hard. I think you have to try new things. If you fail, you got to try it again. But that means you have to give yourself enough time to do that. You've got to give yourself enough time to screw it up and then fix it and then screw it up again. And that's the way you sort of iterate yourself to success. It's certainly been the way I've done it. Many people are surprised that I never took a television class or film class in college. I was an English major. I did theater and comic opera on the side. So I sort of learned it all by doing. And when you do it that way, you really do screw up a lot. What school does for you is provides a safe environment for screwing up. So if you make mistakes on a project, you do it better next time. But the key is practice, and so that I think is my biggest piece of advice.
All right. So many students know you for your ties that have even made it on the front page of Reddit. How do you select your ties in the morning? Do you have like a specific schedule that you stick to, or is it just whatever you're feeling that day?
Well, I suppose somebody who was watching me would say it was complicated, but I don't think of it as complicated. First, I never wear the same tie twice in a semester. So that just means I have a lot of ties. It's really complicated if I teach 4 days a week, because I only wear them when I teach. So I have a lot more ties to choose from if it's 2 days. Usually it's a combination of what suit or jacket do I have available, what's at the dry cleaners, and then sometimes I'll be talking about something in class where the tie may have some relevance. I remember I sometimes wear a certain tie when I talk about graphic design, and the tie has, I think, a star, a moon, a heart, a couple of other, maybe a sun on it. And that's useful in talking about how symbols work and how symbols create meaning. But that's about as sophisticated as it gets. It's really just a vibe, I suppose.
So after teaching so many students through your about 20 years of teaching here, you're bound to have some crazy classroom interactions. Do you have any that come to mind? Any students that have just gone off the rails, or just any crazy thing that's happened in a classroom?
Yeah, probably the one that was the most odd was when I think I was talking about graphic design and colors and a concept called resonance, and talking about how the American flag and the French flag both have the same color scheme, red, white, and blue. And at one point I said something about the fact that after 2001, or rather 2003, in the invasion of Iraq, France was not particularly happy about that. And so then, of course, the United States, being sort of the knee-jerk country, was not happy with France. And so they essentially banned French fries from the congressional cafeteria and started serving freedom fries instead. And I said in class that that's a little bit awkward and a little unfair, since basically the French won the American Revolution, which is actually true. But one student stood up and he pointed his finger at me and he said, "You're trying to indoctrinate us." That was funny, but he got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I've had students fall asleep and snore really, really loudly. Be woken up by an AI and let's just say a few bad words in response. But I have to say, most of the time, I think the students are fantastic, and they don't always like me, but I usually like them. I don't usually have much trouble with them, and I like being there, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't. So, plus they pay me to do it.
Yeah. So one lovely little site that many students use to learn about their professors is Rate My Professor. The student reviews teachers, and the reviews aren't always very nice. So today we're going to play a little game called Berate My Professor, where I have a select few reviews written by students, and I'm going to ask you to read them out loud.
Read them out loud.
Let us know what you think. Tell us how they make you feel.
Would you like me to look into a particular camera?
That is up to you. You can look into camera. Let's do camera 1 over there.
Camera 1, right over there?
Yep.
I'm going to look into camera 1. All right. Geez, could you make this smaller type? Oh, the first one doesn't seem so bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's an amazing professor if you can recognize genius when you see it.
Mm.
He's a smart, mature man, and I think that means old. And he really changed my perspective when it comes to media viewing. I changed my major thanks to him and this class. Projects are not easy as they are there to challenge you to really think and use what you've been taught. Take this class. I actually wrote that one.
You wrote that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's coming from 2012. So
2012.
we got a few 2006ers on here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome teacher with awesome personality. Production management is a good class, worth taking with him. You can join his Facebook group, current and former students of Steve. I forgot all about that.
That was a real thing?
That was a real thing. That was back when Facebook was kind of new. That was in 2006.
I looked into it and couldn't find the Facebook group anymore. It's gone.
You need to make friends with some Russians. They'll find it for you.
They'll find it for me.
He's awesome, but he's got issues with cats.
Yeah, I read that. I'm confused. So do you have issues with cats?
Yeah.
What's the issue?
They suck.
That's all?
The best thing I ever heard was they deprive you of solitude without providing you with company. And that, I think, is true. It's like, I don't know, I like dogs.
Dog person?
Plus, I'm really allergic to cats.
I could see how that'd make it difficult.
Yeah, and cats know who's allergic to them.
They love them.
They know. Oh my God, I could tell you a story. My wife's family had cats. So Ming and Maya, they sucked. Let's see, here's one from 2008. You can call him, quote, Steve, unquote. He is just a fun professor that you can talk to easily. This was not my writing class. This was, no. He, quote, makes friends, unquote, with his students. That sounded creepy.
Yeah, that one also confused me quite a bit.
And that's what sets him and most other profs apart. He always seems to be smiling, and he definitely gets students motivated to learn. Well, those aren't so bad.
Flip that one over. We got some more on that side.
Oh, geez.
We'll start to get into that.
All right.
Rougher territory.
All right, this one says, go to his office hours. Great guy and knows his field. Warning, do not insult his ties or prepare to feel his wrath. That's not true. Well, it's kind of true.
Have you ever had a student just blatantly insult your ties?
Well, I have had a student kind of euphemize, say, oh, that's an interesting tie. And that's what my mom always used to say when she basically meant that she hated something, right? She'd say, oh, that's interesting. Thanks, Mom. Oh, well, this one's apropos. Talks about himself too much. Took his class last semester and was happy when it was over. Makes what should be a fun class boring and uninteresting. Sad. This is Donald Trump.
Yeah, the sad exclamation point
Yeah.
threw me through a loop.
You.
All right. What do
That
we
was
got?
for Donald Trump. That was the student sounds like a lovely person. So, oh, here's a good one. A lot of people think he is a good professor because he's quirky and outspoken. But if you really look at his teaching ability, you will see that he is in fact not a good professor. He simply does not give students enough concrete information and lacks the ability to communicate vital information successfully. Okay? How did you do in the class?
Yeah, no grades on there, so they
No
put
grades,
a
it's hard to
4.0
know.
difficulty, so
Yeah.
my guess is not very well.
No. Oh, here's an excellent one. This one, it says awful. And the date is important because I think this is like the 5th week of class. So,
Pretty early.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe things got better. Says, The professor's whole ego is based on how many students go to class. He creates a toxic learning environment and would be better off just teaching the class instead of wasting time trying to create rules that have nothing to do with course material or learning. If you're not new to college, the class is condescending, useless, and ineffective. Senior.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally.
To me, it seems like they just don't like the attendance policy of show up.
It's like, well, why did you wait until the last semester of your college career to take a class? It's like, besides, it's still, you could drop the class, dude. It's like, really? Seriously? All right. Oh, this was a really good one. But it's funny, this one says, I'm poor. The previous one said, I'm awful. But this one starts out, I despise this teacher.
It's a good start. It's a good start. It'll.
Why did they just come to my office hours and tell me that to my face? Jeez. He talks about himself more than what we are supposed to be learning. I feel like I'm wasting the money I pay to go to IU when I'm in his class. His assignments are interesting and spark creativity.
That's pretty nice.
That's the only good thing I can say about this class. If I want, I'll read this verbatim. If want a very subpar comedian attempting to teach a class, he's your guy. I actually sort of like that. I think subpar comedian is...
It still means you're funny.
Yeah.
Just a little less funny than the regular comedian.
I like this guy. And then here's the last one. He's kicking rad.
Yeah, we decided to end it off with quite a kind one. And that one's from 2007. Was that popular back then? Kickin' rad? Was that at all slang?
You're asking the wrong guy. I suspect it was very popular.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So well, those are enlightening.
How are you feeling after that?
Well, I think that when you're in this business of teaching, on some level, you are in the entertainment business because you have to hold people's attention. And when you're in the entertainment business, you know that you are open to different tastes, and not everybody likes the same music, not everybody likes the same shows, not everybody likes the same comedians, to the extent that you need to entertain in order to keep people's attention for an hour and 15 minutes twice a week. It doesn't bother me that there are some people. In fact, I was actually apprenticing in set design. Sorry, this is a story, so, screw me. I was apprenticing in set design way back when, about 40 years ago or so. And the guy I was apprenticing with was a chain smoker back when that was a thing. And he did about 4 packs a day. So by apprentice, I mean I swept a lot of cigarette butts. And so he kind of talked like this. And at one point we were talking about this set we were working on that had a lot of religious iconography in it and symbols, but they were on the floor. And I said, Jim, aren't people going to be a little upset that that people are walking around on these sort of religious images? And he says, Steve, if you're not pissing off 25% of the people, you're not doing your job. And so I sort of said, what job? He says, doesn't matter. So I guess, yeah, if you take it up to the edge, some people are just going to hate your guts, and that's okay. I wish there was a ratemystudent.com.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. We should start that, and it's I could say some things.
Just call them out very specifically.
I would use their actual name and my actual name.
Yeah, I was going to say, because these are all anonymous. Would you be willing to leave your name?
Yeah, well, it's but here's the thing is you can't trust your reviews too much, no matter whether they're good or whether they're bad. Right? You got to just like awards, on any given day, somebody likes you, somebody doesn't like you. It could actually change the next day. So establishing your own sort of personal self-worth based on what people think on any given day. People still take my classes, so I'm not too worried about it.
Definitely.
Mainly because they have to, but
All right, I want to thank you all for watching our episode, and a big thanks to our special guest, Steve Kroenke. Now, before we go, do you have anything you'd like to promote? Anything you got to shout out? Anything you want? Any classes you want students to take or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, seriously. If anybody is interested in a class that, and this is totally legit, this is totally true, that is generally considered to be the most well-reviewed course in the media school, but is also considered to be the hardest course in the media school, you should take my television analysis and criticism class. And the cool thing about it is pretty much all you do in class is watch TV shows. TV shows, TV shows, TV shows, TV shows. And then you talk a little bit about the TV shows. I don't really lecture. I maybe give 3 sort of more didactic talks during the semester. And that's pretty much it, right? So it's but except there are 6 15-page papers.
Yeah, I could see where
So
that
there's
becomes
that.
difficult.
Yeah, there's that. But the rest of it is great. So, but that actually is a really popular class, and it's a lot of fun. You get to know other students really well. And I'll teach you how to write.
Usually very important.
Very important.
All right. Join us next week where our special guest Jesse Eisenberg and I will learn how to cup stack together. Thank you for watching, and remember, it's not too late to join the circus. I'll see you next week.